We have total one. We have total 1 hour.
1 hour. Okay.
We have total 1 hour, so you manage time as you like.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. I believe people learn what they believe they need to learn. So rather than me giving you a lecture about what I think masterful coaching is, I'm going to coach somebody that I've never met. That I've never met before, and I have no idea where we're going to go with this. And I want you all to listen, take notes about what do you want to know, what do you want to learn about what we do. So my objective is for you to get the answers that you need. You may even have come, because it's coaching week, with some thoughts, with some questions that aren't specifically related to the demonstration as we do it, and that's fine. I'm here to give you whatever you need. I'm going to aim for about a 30-minute coaching session, and we'll see how far we get. Then we'll stop and make sure we've got plenty of time to have a discussion and answer all your questions. And I'm open to being asked absolutely anything. While I'm coaching, I'm going to ask that we all go silent and dark. So turn your videos off so that Vahagna and I have just got each other, because it's very difficult for, to focus when you're being observed from all directions. So if I can trouble you to turn your videos off for this first segment, then turn them back on when I call you in to fully connect. Okay, so context. I am an executive coach. I had my first exposure to coaching in 1984, when it didn't really exist in the corporate world. So what I do and what I teach is not coming from a coaching school. It's coming from what I have figured out over the last 40 years. And I've only worked with corporate entities, teaching leaders, teaching HR professionals and internal coaches for the last 25 years. However, what I'm now teaching to coaches like you starting this year is level 3, mastery and coaching. And interestingly enough, I used to teach that to the corporate leaders, and still do, in just a 3-day program. Not 60 hours training or 125 hours training or 250. I believe you can teach mastery to beginners if you get it right. I also believe there are multiple levels of mastery, so we can dig into that a little bit later. So for the moment, if I can invite you all to just bring yourselves centered and present, come online with the intention to learn something that is going to dramatically change how you coach people. Nana, Marina, are you able to set it so that on people's screens that Vahagna and I are the focus, or is that down to the individuals to do that?
And the host could do that. Gaijan, could you do a speaker's view for everybody?
Let me see how to do that.
And once again, to encourage everybody to switch off the videos so that Vahag and Tony will be in one room together only.
Okay, we're good. Okay, so Vahag, unmute yourself.
Yes.
No.
Hello.
Hi. So it's difficult, I know, when you know there's 40 or 50 people out there watching, listening. So just let's let them disappear. What I'd like you to do is just bring yourself centered in whatever way that means to you, and fully grounded, and just allow yourself to connect with me. So they all just fade into the background. Okay, good. So I believe you've come to this conversation with something you wanted to resolve. So tell me, we've got about 30 minutes. What's the issue you need to resolve in the next 30 minutes?
So the situation is that I've quit my job 3 months ago already, and I have this vision of Vahag that I want to see in 30 years, 40 years, but it feels like there is a gap. Setting achievable milestones, measurable milestones on my journey of getting to the Vahag of my dreams kind of situation.
Okay, so if I'm hearing correctly, you've left work, you're going to do something on your own. And if I'm hearing right, you have a clear vision of what that will look like as a result if you were looking back at it from 40 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Not many people have that. That's impressive. So that's your current situation. What's your problem? What's the issue you need to resolve?
The thing is that kind of I cannot jump as high to get there immediately, and I need to kind of make goals for 5 years, 10 years before I get to the major goals in 40 years. And the goals to me seem a bit blurry at the moment, and I have kind of, my mind is scattered into places, home, personal relationships, kind of the aspects of the balance wheel. And I kind of need to set up a vision for myself in 5 years in all those areas combined. Kind of what I'm looking for is balance in all the areas of my life. And I mean, I don't want to focus on only one area for 20 years, and so that other areas suffer, but I want kind of grow in a balance.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of see what's that balance in 5 years. How is it going to look like?
Okay. So if I'm hearing correctly, you say that in all areas of your life, you know what all those areas will look like in 40 years, but you don't know what they will look like in 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the challenge here?
The challenge is kind of to find the direction. I mean, I know where is the location, which is in 40 years, but what's the direction that I'm going to take to get to that location?
When you say direction, because if you know where you're going, you know the direction, right? Or you're not sure where you are now.
Mm-hmm. Feels like where I am now is a question I didn't ask myself, and what I feel about this question is kind of very on point, because I thought I don't know where I want to go, but maybe it's where I am now is the question that I have to ask myself. Kind of facing my current situation is probably, and seeing what I have and what I don't have, maybe.
Okay. So talk me through that.
what comes to my mind now is that, okay, I know who I want to be in 40 years. I approximately understand what's my career going to be, what's my family situation is going to be, my financial situation, and I've given myself a kind of period to explore my opportunities and possibilities, how to get there. And now I see a lot of options how to get there, and making a choice and clearly setting goals for myself. For example, I don't know, I want to become a scientist and dedicate a part of my life to science, but also I want to have career out of academia, but in a business world. And I also want to create a family, and all of this seem a bit independent from each other. However, I kind of, they're interrelated, and I don't see how do I create a win-win situation, kind of to get to have family and to start my career and to do my work in academia, and kind of I don't want to give up on any of those parts. I want to have all of them together. And the challenge is that currently I don't see how do they connect to each other. Although I see what's the result going to be in 40 years. Probably that's how I would phrase it now.
So if you see the result, am I hearing that you say when you look at the result in 40 years, you do see how they connect together?
Mm-hmm. If I were to describe how do these connect in 40 years, is probably me living my peaceful life, but also giving value to society and to my family. Also having financial sustainability to some extent. And the question that arises is, how did I get there?
Could I ask a slightly different question?
Mm-hmm.
Just now you said you are very clear on what your life will look like in 40 years' time and how everything fits together. However, when you described it just now, you were being very vague.
So there is this in the training of art exercise where I visualized a situation in my life. Mm-hmm. And kind of there's a concrete specific episode in my mind. Mm-hmm. However, the feelings that I have when I look at it is the vague description that I just gave you.
So am I hearing that you know what the future feels like, but you're not clear what it looks
Probably
like?
that's, yeah, that's true.
Okay. So let's come back to where you are now.
Mhm. First word that pops up to my mind is anxious.
Mhm.
Um, uncertain, and feels like I know a lot of stuff, but I have no clue what to do.
Mhm.
That's it, probably.
So if I'm hearing correctly, you're saying that you know what some years from now you want your life to feel like. And you know
Mhm.
that that feeling is going to come from having family, having a business career, having an academic career. Those are your three sources of that feeling. But you have
Mhm.
no more precision about it than that.
Mhm.
And if I'm hearing correctly, you're saying that at the moment you're struggling with how to start on the path to go there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Can I just clarify right now? Do you have an academic career?
Um, I did my bachelor's degree with a degree that I don't want to continue, so it's kind of starting from scratch at the moment for me. And feels like a bit challenging to start over again, especially when it lasted far more than I have expected, the previous one.
Mm.
And kind of feels like I'm from scratch, and that is probably what makes me anxious about it.
And if I can ask a couple more questions, do you have a business career right now?
No, I don't.
Okay. And do you have a family right now?
Neither.
Okay. Okay. So your current situation, if I'm hearing right, is that the 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 feeling you want to get from having those three elements of academic career, business career, and family, those are your three areas of activity that are the source of that feeling.
Mhm.
And right now, you haven't, I'm hearing you haven't started the journey of building the business career. You haven't started the journey of building the family. You have started the journey of building the academic career. You just may switch topics.
Mhm.
So this actually feels like, wow, that's impressive. You could do anything then. You could do anything. This is awesome. So could you just for a moment just bring fully present into your mind, your body, that feeling of what this 40 years from now that you described. Just bring that feeling fully present in yourself, and just sit with it, hold it. Now, I want you to just take that as you see it, and you hold it right there in front of you, because everything is connected. You know from your academic career, thinking is the process of connecting previously unconnected data in your brain. And as Einstein proved, everything in the universe is made up of energy. Therefore, there is a level at which everything exists and is connected. And if I'm hearing correctly, you want the opportunity to reach up into the realm of possibility and see what connects to match that feeling that you're experiencing at the moment. Are you willing to step into it and accept it?
Yes. And
Okay.
kind of a wave of calmness and open mind. A state of being, of a calm state of being just filled my body.
Beautiful. Feels good, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I just want to take that feeling, that future of those three elements that you have there in front of you, that's full of it's filling your entire body now, right? You can feel it. Okay. Now just elevate it upwards. Elevate it up to the level where the infinity of everything that's out there exists. And just hold it up and allow it to draw all the possibilities into it. Now, bring it back into yourself strongly. And with all the channels open for all those possibilities to now continue to keep flowing into it. You won't necessarily know the answer. It may take a little while. But I want you to just now hold that within yourself and let it expand as all those possibilities come into it. And let's energize it. Let's just spin it. Just make it spin around, give it some momentum. And then when you're ready, allow it to explode outwards to fulfill its potential. Okay. What are you experiencing now?
I'm experiencing a feeling that I can take my life into my hands and make my decisions for myself. The eagerness to do so, that's what I'm feeling. And realization or understanding comes to me that waiting for time to kind of letting the river decide the direction might be an option, but that's not my option. And that is the challenging part. That's for what it feels now. It's if I'm not gonna take the direction into my hands, the river is just gonna get me somewhere. Again, it might not be a bad place, but that's not the place where I want to go.
So what have you just learned about yourself?
It's I'm the owner of my life, director, and every decision that I make, even if not making a decision as a decision,
Right.
it's deciding for the future self. It's a decision for the future self. And every decision that I make today is the value that is going to bring to me in 40 years.
A question, if I may. The feeling that you've been holding for the last half an hour of what that perfect life looks like. To have that feeling tomorrow, what needs to change?
Commitment comes to my mind. Staying committed to my vision of myself. Being aware of my blind spots and things that might distract me on my journey, because that's a well-known issue for me, because I might take the direction and on the journey just go around and explore some other stuff that is not mine. And setting what I want to do for the following days is actually to write down my goals and always have a look at them so that I don't forget about them. I would be very happy and honored to sometimes share my path with some other people, but having mine apart and following my dream is what I really need to do. And just commitment to my vision. That's what comes to my mind.
And I suspect, because thought processes kind of go on, I suspect that in a few hours, or maybe when you wake up tomorrow morning and you sit down to do that, the first step in each of those three areas, you'll know, you do know. So tell me, what was that thought process just there?
It's just that kind of what's the action that I have to take for this? That's nothing comes to my mind, but I simply have to do it. That's what comes to my mind. Just waking up every morning, writing down my goals for the day or for the week or for the month, and seeing how they contribute to my vision, to my journey.
Yeah. And to having that feeling every day.
Probably being with that feeling, kind of sitting, doing nothing, and being in that feeling is what's probably going to help me be committed.
Yes. Because commitment you've made is that's a choice. You're committed to doing it. So what you need to do each day, I think you're right, will emerge from being committed to doing something and sitting with that feeling. It's that phrase that somebody from one of the famous Olympian rowers was saying. Their phrase was, when they were trying to decide what shall we do day by day, and what they said was, does it make the boat go faster? Yeah, that was the simple criteria. So in your context, it does. What shall I do next? Does it contribute to the feeling? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, in relation to what you needed from this conversation, where are you now?
I feel a lot more comfortable with the question itself that I've had. I feel like I just gotta do it. Nobody's gonna do it for me. That's just the inner voice that's telling me you just gotta do it, and you can do it. That feels great.
That feels good. That's awesome. Good. Would this be a good place for us to stop? Are we done?
Feels like.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you.
being open, being vulnerable. Let's invite everybody else back in.
Thank you too. This was very valuable, and that's a contribution to my future self.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so everybody, please, this time feel free to put your videos on. Let's see what's going on those faces. And we have the chat box open. You can either pop stuff in the chat, or if you want to be a bit more interactive, which is more fun, wave, raise your hand, or just open your microphone and ask a question. What do you want to know about what we've just done?
Yeah, I guess I have a question. First of all, I must congratulate. It was quite an insightful session. And I would like to know what was going on in your mind while you were inquiring about his life. Like, you allowed enough space for him to explore on his own. So what was at the back of your mind, how you were evaluating things?
As they say, excellent question. Absolutely nothing. absolutely nothing. So my thing and what I'm in the world to teach everybody is how to bring, no matter what your level of credential, how to bring true mastery into your coaching. And coaching at the speed of thought means that you get somebody down into their subconscious, because the deeper they go into their subconscious, the faster the thinking happens. That's why people can resolve an issue that they may be been grappling with for months in relatively few minutes. But as the coach, you have to coach from your subconscious. So your conscious awareness is the handful of things you're currently aware of. Your subconscious, put it in computer terms, because I'm an ex-techie, so I'm comfortable with that. It's the mainframe processor, and it's the massive database of your entire body of knowledge and experience. So if you trust, you learn to empty your conscious awareness, so you are not consciously thinking of anything. Anything I say comes from the subconscious as a response to whatever he has just said. So I'm not evaluating his words. I am listening for certain things and responding to certain things, but I'm not evaluating, and I don't have a plan. I had one of the things I was aware of was about halfway through that session, I suddenly went, oh wow, this one's going to go in that direction. So the fact that we actually went into some pure energetics took me by surprise, but it was my subconscious saying, this is where it needs to go. The hard bits, you know, we all have this, when you first train as a coach, one of the hardest parts is letting go of being the problem solver. And what I see a lot of coaches doing, even at PCC level, is we go in and we remember we've got to ask, what's your outcome from the session that you want? You know, what's the issue you need to resolve to get there? And then we dive straight in to, okay, what do you need to do to get this change? So we go straight into the solutioning. And to get over the bar to MCC, you've got to let go of the need for the problem to be solved. And generally, by letting go of the need for the problem to be solved, the problem does get solved. And I don't know if you noticed, we said at the beginning, I told him gently, or I told his subconscious, we had 30 minutes to resolve the issue. Did anybody check the clock? It was give or take 30 minutes, within about 60 seconds either way. Yeah. The subconscious does what the subconscious is told to do. So you have to recognize as a coach that you are connecting subconscious to subconscious at the speed of thought. Okay. Thanks, Garima. What other questions do we have?
May I?
Please.
I would like to ask you, did you predict from the start what would be output of the session from first 10 minutes? No,
absolutely no clue. And it was an interesting one because I don't know if you noticed at the beginning, if you're listening to it as a coach, and I'm kind of listening to myself coaching as we're going along, and you do get that piece at the beginning where there isn't really a concrete problem here, is there? So as a coach, you tend to get that first fleeting moment of panic of like, I have no idea where this is going. But this is mastery. You've got to embrace that. You have no idea where it's going, and it doesn't matter. It will go where it needs to go.
Mm.
Yeah, so we're looking, mastery as defined by ICF is a fully present, connected, in the moment experience. We're coaching for breakthrough, we're coaching for awareness. Yeah, so you have to kind of relax and let go.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Tony, in that sense, could you please tell what was the contract? Because I mean, even on the MCC level, we will be evaluated on the having the contract, by having the agreement from the very beginning.
Right. So this goes back to the assessor-related question about the competencies. We're going to go to my favorite. I know you've heard me say this before. Competency 3. If we look at, and you should, if you haven't got it, you should have the ICF document that goes down to the 11 different steps of what are the minimum skills required at MCC level. And I think, if I remember correctly, point 678 talks about fully partnering with the client to agree what they need to establish from the session, what outcome they're looking for. Now, we're coaching without models, all coaching models, and I don't mind what coaching models you know, but please don't use them as the sequence of your conversation. They put them in the mainframe as a framework to check, have I covered all these points? Because the whole thing has got to be fluid and go where it needs to go. Once you know what you want from the session, and you could say his presented desired outcome from the session is a plan of how I take my life forward for the next 40 years. That's, I think, what was initially presented, which is fine. However, you can't go anywhere if you don't know where you are now. So point 6 says fully partner with the client to establish what they want from the session. Point 7, much more important, says fully partner with the client to establish what they need to resolve in order to achieve what they want from the session. Now, competency 3 is not 2 or 3 questions that you ask at the beginning of the session. Competency 3 is the structure of the entire coaching session. Because once you get them down into the subconscious, when you get the clarity on where you are now, and that goes down multiple layers, and you notice when we started exploring that, the others were like, actually, in relation to that, I really don't know where I am now. Well, until you figure that out, you can't go anywhere. So we have to go down and get that clarity on where you are now. Once you have that clarity, you can then start to explore the clarity on the future. And when you're doing that down in the subconscious, your brain starts to figure out for itself, now I know where I am and I know where I'm going. How am I going to get from here to there? And that all happens kind of at the speed of thought. Does that answer sufficiently? Yeah, okay, thank you. We had a question in the chat. Subconscious and intuition is the same for you. No, it's not. Your subconscious, I'm talking about the whole of your mind, as opposed to your conscious awareness being just the things you're currently consciously aware of. Intuition. Intuition is a first level of kind of putting stuff together. What we're talking about here is going way beyond intuition. We're talking about learning to connect to, and it was interesting. We oddly enough, the way that conversation went, I touched on this in the coaching session. Coaching is the process of making people think, which is just thinking is connecting previously unconnected data in the brain. So you can't coach somebody on something they don't know. They need to go and learn something and add the data in, and then you can coach them. When we go to the higher levels, when we start to use energy, and I'm talking pure quantum physics level energy, the stuff that the universe is made of. I am energy in one form, you're energy in another form, and the space between us is also energy in a different form. So everything is connected. And if you can learn to work with the energy, you can learn to go to those realms where that energetic connection is available. So for me, as an IT guy, I'm fairly practical. So coaching mastery is a little bit like martial arts. If you were going to, you're in medieval Japan and you're going to hire a gang of ninjas to go and capture a palace, you wouldn't go out and ask for a bunch of yellow belts, right? You wouldn't hire anybody who wasn't at least black belt. And then at black belt, we've got 8 dans above that. So for me, coaching is the same. Getting an MCC is something everybody should do as quickly as possible. And yes, I know you've got the time it takes to get the hours for the regulation process, but learn to coach at a mastery level as quickly as possible. So letting go of models, coaching as a present, connected, in the moment experience with no model involved, that gets you over the bar, that gets you black belt. Then the 8 dans of mastery are the degree to which you can use the energy. And I find it's very easy to think of it as 3 different levels. The first one is when you learn to listen from the subconscious and you start to read the signals that come from people. Because people experience, I'm going to say this twice and slowly, people experience physical manifestations of the emotional content of the neural pathway they are accessing. Physical manifestation of the emotional content of the neural pathway they're accessing. Simple example, a client in a coaching session thinks of something sad. They're accessing a neural pathway, it has an emotional content. The physical manifestation might be muscular changes. It might be saline liquid dripping from the tear ducts. We have various, our physical senses will all experience a physical manifestation of the content of that neural pathway. Now, it also happens at the 6th sense level, the energy. When somebody thinks of something, it gives off physical energy. It's like dropping a pebble into water. When you drop a pebble into water, you see ripples. It's not the water moving. You're seeing, because water is visible, you are seeing the energy wave move through the water. You couldn't drop a pebble into the water and not make a ripple. So when somebody experiences a strong emotion, there's an energy ripple. So if as a coach, you can learn to work with your energy and start to read the energy, you pick up more, you become more tuned in, more sensitive. People would tend to say your intuition's getting better, but you're just picking up physical signals. The second level is when you can learn to work with the energy to connect with people. And the third level is where you can use the energy as you coach them. And this doesn't come into every coaching session. The energetic connection with somebody and reading the signals should be there in every coaching session. Doing outgoing energy to coach sometimes is needed, sometimes is not. Now, the interesting term was today, we were actually using that energy, and not only that, but consciously taking Vahagan up himself to experience playing with that energy, to find the possibilities. And although I didn't tell him that we're doing anything like that, we just did it and took him there. And then you noticed he started describing physical sensations in his body. So this stuff is practical, physical, tangible, and very real. Let me just go and have a look, see what other questions we have. Okay, 2 more questions one about bringing the client into their subconscious and doing that by entering your subconscious. Right. So you could see that Vahagan was going down into his subconscious. You can see the thinking happening. And doing that is just as simple as starting to trigger thinking, taking them out into that clarity about where are you now? What's the real issue? So listening to what they're saying, playing it back, stretching it, testing it, that already starts him going down into the subconscious. I like to think of it like Inception. Go back 11 years to the movie. Those of you who watched it, the van goes off the bridge. A second in real time is an hour at level 1 in the subconscious, a day at level 2, a week at level 3. So the further down you can push them into the subconscious, the faster the processing happens. Putting yourself and getting down into your subconscious comes from a very conscious listening practice. I'm horribly aware that we're almost up to time, so we haven't got time to go through that today. I will offer you some help with that, with something for free that you can go and look at. So I'll put that up in a moment. Nara, you had a question. Could I share, how did I feel during the session? What happened to me? And before it started, you didn't know anything about the client. Yeah, that's one of the fun things about doing these cold demos. Because you've got no idea, right? You know, what if it doesn't work? Yeah. So again, that's something you have to get used to. You have to let go of the need. One of the things we're looking for at MCC level is that you're no longer attached to your performance as a coach. And that's a tough one. That takes time. That takes time and that takes practice. But once you let go of that, you're able to fully be connected and go with whatever happens. And it always works. You know, I only started doing my MCC level membership training thing back in January this year. And I've been doing so many of these live demos, and a lot of the recordings of them are up in the training center. It never fails. Once you let go of the fear of it not working, it works. So I am conscious of time. Are we supposed to be almost stopping? Are there any more questions? Who's in charge here? I mean, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. When you usually check for recontract in your sessions? This is my question. Thank you. Yeah, recontracting in your sessions.
Okay. So again, it's a little bit like the bit about competency 3 that I was talking about. You don't have to go and recontract. You are doing. So you don't ever say, oh, we need to stop and reconnect, because you will pull them straight back up to their conscious awareness. If you notice when I'm helping him get clarity on where he is now, on what his real problem is, that is a continuous layer by layer by layer. Every time we did that, we're recontracting, because we're going down to what's the deeper problem, what's really going on underneath this, what's the real challenge. You know, we use all those different kinds of words, and I use several different ways. Each one of those was a recontracting, getting down to the thing. So don't be confused by when ICF documents say, you know, if something changes, you must recontract. I'm doing that by definition, right? As I said, competency 3, once you get somebody thinking, you'll notice towards the end, when I was checking in on progress, I deliberately used the phrase, in relation to what you needed from this session, where are you now? I didn't repeat the problem. I didn't repeat the desired outcome, because they have changed. The minute he states something about the now or the future, because he's down in his subconscious, The minute the words are out of his mouth, they are no longer valid. The thinking is happening 100 times faster. So you're actually constantly playing with something that you don't know where you are. You don't know where he is. So you're using, think of it in spreadsheet terms, you're using relative cell references. There's this thing called the real problem. There's this thing called the future. What's in that cell will be changing constantly throughout the session. So competency 3 is a completely fluid dynamic across the entire coaching session, until we get to that point where we dip into the processor and go, okay, where are you now? And then we get the actual of where he is now. Does that help, Ami?
Yeah, thank you. The only thing, second question is about when you decide to finish session. When you asking if is he ready for finishing?
Yes, because only he knows if he is. So I was hearing that he got a significant shift. And when I asked in relation to what you needed from this session, where are you now? He had a very concrete answer. And he himself was going like, okay, so going forward, I'm committed, I'm going to do this, I need to go away and sit with this and whatever. That sounded to me like somebody's got a plan, right? So perfect moment to just check in, because sometimes when you check in there, they'll go like, no, I need to keep processing. Sometimes they'll go like, no, I need to go away with this and let it process. Yeah. So it was just driven by him. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question if we can?
Absolutely. I'm not in charge here. I'm not in charge. So if ICF Armenia is going to keep us online, I'm online. I'm okay.
That's cool.
What is the question?
So I've heard so many great summaries of you, which you used to help Vahak to come to the roots or to his unconsciousness. I would love to hear your thoughts about this approach of making summaries, but not only for like developing the rapport with the client, but also helping him to like expand the borders and think about the real question, real challenge, etc. So this was really impressive. That's why I would love to hear from you about your way of making summaries or, yeah,
right.
Thank you.
Right. Yes, so my technical, so I don't do it to build rapport. Yeah.
I felt it, yeah.
Right. For me, the rapport is there the minute we start the conversation. You're making that happen energetically. You don't need to take time to build rapport. It's just we're there. Yeah. And I tend to be very to the point and direct. I mostly work with corporate people, and it's not a how many coaching sessions to solve my problem. These are people who come to each week's coaching session with the list of, here are the 5 things I need to solve in the next hour and a half. So, speed is of the essence. So being direct is a good idea. The reframing, though, when you're helping them get clarity on the now, you've got to peel the layers and get down to what's the real problem. Because until we get to that, we can't move forward to the future. So if you just repeat back their words, it doesn't do anything. So the trick to peeling it back for me is what you heard me doing. I was stretch. What I call it, this is my technical term for it, I call it stretching and testing. I'll give you a simple example. Common scenario, you get a senior leader comes to you for coaching, and the problem is, like, oh, I've got one of my staff and it's so difficult because they're absolute genius at most of the work, but there's this one area that they don't like doing it, they don't do it, I can't get them to perform and do stuff. So when I play that back, I would stretch it and test it and say, so if I'm hearing correctly, you have a subordinate who is competent in many areas, but seems to think that they can choose which parts of the job you pay them for that they do or don't do. And they'll go like, oh gosh, yes, that sounds, oh yeah, okay, we've just peeled another layer, right? Because we're not coaching to solve the problem of the subordinate who isn't good at part of the job. We're getting down to what's the real issue. This is clearly a leader who maybe isn't good at setting clear objectives and getting agreement, or maybe isn't good at monitoring and observing people, or maybe he's scared of giving negative feedback to people. You know, who knows? But that's the real person that we're going to be coaching, not the problem that came in at the top. So
what I've learned, oh, sorry.
No, go.
What I've learned from what you just said is that the trick is to look at the situation from the point of view, not the client, but someone else. For example, in case of executives, for example, the employee, they have their own position or their own point of view. And if you manage to look at the same situation from the point of view of third person, this will, like, let's say, help to move forward the client.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good way of putting it. That's quite a good way of putting it. And the other thing is, never be afraid to allow logic to come into your coaching. Yeah, because if you think about it logically, if a manager has a staff member who's refusing to do certain tasks in their job, yeah, sorry, we pay them to do the whole job. Logically, why would we let them get away with which bit they want to do? So, and when you get into the empty-minded state you need to coach from your subconscious, that piece of logic is something that would pop up from your subconscious just as it's part of your body of knowledge. So I'm not consciously analyzing anything that's being said. I'm just allowing my entire body of knowledge to respond to it. And if that's what pops up, that's what comes out of my mouth. The other thing I think that is really important is coaches I train will often push back and go like, oh, but I don't want to be kind of getting in the way or putting my idea forward. What if they don't accept it? No, it's not my idea. I am simply presenting something that's come up. If my intention is to help them get the clarity and to create some awareness, they detect that and they will never hesitate to push back. I've never had a client who just accepted my view of the world because of partly the way you say it, tone of voice, language, that kind of thing. More importantly, the energy and the intention. If your intention is for you to understand so that you can start solving the problem, then you're in trouble. And they'll pick that up and they will stop thinking because you've taken over the thinking. Yeah. In fact, that's probably a good thought to have in mind. In a coaching partnership, only one of you should be thinking, and it's not the coach. Thank you for that. I've never said that before. I'm going to write that down and use it again.
It was a powerful statement. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I like that one. I'm going to write that one down. Awesome.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to take as many questions you want. But let me just put something for you. If you want to play a little bit more, then profitableleadership.com/first-steps, there is a free 5-part recorded video session. It's 1 hour long. It's got an ICF CCE credit attached to it. If you want to explore the framework of what I do a bit more, feel free to go there and get that for free. Go play with it. That will talk. That will do a better job of taking you through the 5 areas that we actually did in that coaching session. and give you a good sense of the breakdown of it. And listen to that with the recording of this coaching session. You'll find it incredibly helpful.
Tony, may I take from that what you said? Because not only having these free videos, but being with you in the journey for as long as you can, this is really a treasure. I experience myself, and I invite everybody to join this real journey with the simplicity of mastery journey. For me, this is just a journey. This is not a course. This is not something program. This is a journey with you, and I feel I feel a master behind me, as you say in the martial arts, that somebody who backs up anytime I have a question and I have some hesitations. You are there, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I think this is great product for everyone who wants really to reach master level. And thank you for your willingness to contribute to ICF Armenia chapter coaching week. And you many thanks. And from my side, I thank you for your willingness and voluntarily be with us and contribute to our development. And not only Armenians, you see how many people around the world are here. So thank you again and again for this really masterful coaching. We enjoyed.
Okay, that was absolutely my pleasure. So thank you for that. Thank you for the recommendation. I mean, if any of you are interested, because there's no commitment, you can join and leave if it doesn't suit you. simplicityofmastery.com is where you can go in to sort of join us there. You will find a number of recordings of these kind of coaching sessions. One of the things I'm going to ask as you've recorded it later is whether Vahagan would be willing to allow us to use the recording of this coaching session. It will be anonymous and audio only, but we use live stuff like this in the class. So yes, if you want to come and play, people, please do. So let me just check. Have I missed any questions? Is there anything else that you need? Nana, you're the boss today. Is there anything more I can do for you all?
Actually, Nana gave me her Zoom to organize this meeting. My name is Gane, and I was the translator last time that we met.
I thought that was a face I recognized. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think we need to sum up. Yes, really, thank you very much, Tony. You were the first who made an event for our new chapter that we opened.
That's right.
Several months ago when you did your first webinar for us, the meeting. And I still remember mainly every word that you said the last time. And yes, it is very interesting and very powerful meeting with you every time. And thank you for your contribution, really, for our chapter. This is really much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Absolutely my pleasure, people. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, thank you. And should we say bye-bye?
From Singapore, thanks everybody, and have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank